You are watching Omnis Protocol. I am Charles, also known as Omnis, and I am back with another Star Wars Shatterpoint Battle Report. And in this one, not playing, this is also from the event. So this has got Pooz from Eugene playing Iden and Darth Maul, very interesting combination, versus Ryan playing Anakin and Boss. Something, honestly, both these teams are like a touch murdery. A lot of action can potentially going on, but they both got Wrecker, so the Wrecker hoodie is out in full force. But so much to cover in this particular game, I want to dig right into it. Okay, they are playing Never Tell Me the Odds. We've got Pooz on the left. It looks like Pooz has the Darth Maul squad positioned towards the higher part of your screen and then pulls Iden right away. Iden has her full box, Hask, and the ISF closer to the bottom of the screen. And so he is definitely going to start off with Iden, no reserving here. She is definitely a character who can put some pressure on someone immediately. And so here, they were just resolving Iden's ability to move all of the Imperial scouts nearby. So we got Hask moved closer to the point. One of the ISF moved kind of past the point, but still on it. And then the other ISF has moved towards the middle, not on the right objective level, but is within range 2. And then she dashes, hits an ingress point, goes up 1 level. Now, looks like is within full advance range from another ingress point, so can potentially get up further. Yeah. So, by the way, first shout out, I've already dropped a video with Pooz in it. I'm so thankful that he came up and played with us. It's always nice to see him. He's got obviously great hoodie on as well, represent. I always love people showing up with cool Star Wars swag. So, well, let's talk, while they're kind of deliberating a little bit, let's talk a little bit about the list. I think Darth Maul's a really interesting complement, right? Where you add some tankiness with the Wrecker and Fifth Brother side of things, but then have Darth Maul being able to offer some displacement. And honestly, the whole other side has a lot of displacement. So it's a really cool kind of generalist mix. I have not gotten to dig in with him too much about how he liked this list overall afterwards. So Iden does full advance, hit the ingress point. Here we go. Just some very clean measurements, trying to get a precise location there. So she is within range 5 of some things, but she's going to go ahead and use her spend a force for a dash. So range 5. I think this is shooting an ARF. So it's going to be 3 blocks after expertise. Going to go 4 steps down. So plus side here, because he was shooting at an ARF, and the ARF was starting off within range of Wrecker, that meant that the ARFs have protection, and so they live on 1 there because Iden goes 4 down. So already, Pooz's Iden is behaving like my Iden, which is that she just fails to kill things sometimes. And by sometimes, I mean most of the time. So they are pinned, which is not too bad, and like a soft target for later on. But I think obviously that would have been such a big start to be able to wound a support in deployment before they activate. Looks like he pulled ARFs as well as the first card. But in these days, I don't know. Do you guys root for Iden or do you root for Boss? Which one gets the hate these days? I don't know. Most people seem more focused on Boss and Cassian, but Iden is still really good. Okay, so Ryan is activating ARFs. So they're doing a defensive maneuver. One is dropping pin. The other one moves forward. All right. Back one is shooting, and so this one is going to have fixer dice. All right. A lot of fails on that roll for Ryan. Looks like after everything, it is a damage and a pin. So I think Pooz is probably pretty happy about that. So fairly average roll on the second one. So it ends up being 2 damage, pin, shove on Iden this time. So here's kind of checking to see what the possible angles are for this shove. It's not getting her off the point. Ryan has a very fragile advanced tool at the moment. She did roll. Iden rolled a recover on expertise, so she goes ahead and removes the pin. Yeah. Oh man, it's obviously you got to feel it, right? Because obviously prior Gideon Hask version, right? She wouldn't have another success because they're not in range of Iden, or of range of Hask or another scout. But man, that's definitely one where you're wishing that you get that extra damage through and get to wound them before they activate. So here they were correcting. They started off with defensive maneuver, so they do get a hunker. And so just a score of 2 for Ryan. So not a great scoring round for him, but he's probably happy that he didn't lose the ARFs right away. But giving Pooz the chance to stack up even more on the middle is a pretty big deal. I think Ryan's slightly lucky that he didn't end up with someone who can go take the back point, right? Like this could have actually been like a pretty interesting Wrecker turn where I don't think it would have been crazy for Wrecker to go ahead and like go all the way backwards, or like not backwards, but go all the way to Ryan's side of the board and snatch that back objective from him. You know, or Darth Maul or Hask or ISF. Oh man. I might actually reserve Fifth Brother here. Like, sure, him stacking up on the middle is pretty solid to kind of sustain a lead. But right now, kind of looking at the board, everything else is taking a point, is what it looks like to me. ISF take a point. ISF might take 2 points. Yeah. I think I'm, as much as I'm a rarely reserved guy, I think the reserving potential here is huge for Pooz. Like, man, if he pulls ISF or Shatterpoint, he might. Yeah, if he pulls ISF or Shatterpoint, he probably gets a wound and scores 5. That would be, oh man, I've never had that happen to me in Nevertell. That would be brutal. So, looks like he's leaning towards sticking with the Fifth Brother activation. I mean, there's a world where fifth brother does take that point, right? Which is, I think, what they're kind of evaluating here. Because I think he could, if he can jump, be up, go down the ladder, and then either hunker forwards or like walk and then hit the ladder, hunker forward, and then tiebreaker steal that point. That's not bad, but the upside of hitting ISF would have me, might hit my gambling side a little too much. All right. He is electing to do fifth brother here. And he's going to stack up in the middle. Definitely a safe play. Conserves a little bit of force there. Not to be too hard on Pooz here, because I think just sticking with your solid play there is totally fine. But with how murdery the opposing team is, my gut here is that you want to take a lot of points and just put extreme pressure. And I think the fact, I feel like every other character would have scored 4. And probably gets a wound in the process. All right, so the poll was 7 Scorch, which I think is a probably perfect poll for Ryan. At this point, besides Shatterpoint, 7 Scorch is his only real chance of taking the middle. And so now I think there's a very reasonable odds that 7 Scorch would kill Iden and probably take the middle. And he gets to utilize supporting fire dash before getting a wound there. Yeah, I can't imagine Iden lives through 2 attacks and a bomb. Oh, especially with at least. Yeah, so the first one is an attack, gets 2 more dice. And looks like 2 fails. 3 blocks and a heal for Iden. And so it looks like still 4 down, which I think they can do 5 damage. Yep. So 5 damage, pin, strain, shove. The heal will remove the pin. So he is going to go ahead and take the challenging the odds. Oh my god, challenging the odds is supporting units. Oh man, can you imagine if he pulled ISF? If he reserved, gets ISF or Shatterpoint, score 5, kill the ARFs, and challenge the odds? A 7-point swing in a single turn? Holy shit. That would be insane. Oh. Even 7 Sorch, I don't think comes back from that. So that was just 1 shot. So now Iden's wounded and shoved off the point, which actually is pretty important because I think they may need some landing area depending on exact positioning. This is a hunkered 5th brother, so he's definitely rolling some extra dice. So it goes 1 down. So only goes 1 down, which will be 2 damage with protection is reduced to 1. So then that one is going to supporting fire dash. And goes up the ladder. And now they have a move action. First one is walking past 5th brother. and then the other one is going to climb up. Yeah, so this is why 7 Scorch was the perfect draw for Ryan there. Oh, and the next card was Shatterpoint. Oh, man. I mean, Ryan is my friend, so there's certainly a part of this where I'm not sure I wanted him to have a score 7 against him, but knowing that it would have happened now, oh, geez. Okay, so Shatterpoint. So now what's the play here? Honestly, it still probably is ISF. I mean, I think ISF is still a pretty easy score 4 here. And I get really nervous on this particular mission about just how easy it is to get over trapped into the middle. So yeah, I think I would like an ISF Shatterpoint here. Yeah, I feel like especially with the Iden trigger, ARFs are at 1, there's no revenge on the other side. It would be super easy for that ISF in the middle to take the kind of upper right point, and then that other ISF take that point by Anakin, and that would just put a lot of pressure. Oh, so we're doing Hask here. See, I think Hask, while gets good work done here, I think can still score 4, but I don't think it would be quite as well as the ISF. So now Hask is putting some damage into an ARF trooper. So 3 and 2 shoves. And they are hunkered, so they are steadfast, so only 1 shove. So that is a wound. Has not moved the momentum yet, is resolving the Iden trigger. Is going to go ahead and disarm Anakin. I definitely like that play. Yep. And so he dashes with the Iden trigger to the ladder. Now we got the wound momentum. Yeah, this is what I was thinking. I was like, this does allow him to at least score 4. And because Fifth Brother's a tiebreaker, he is able to score that. So I think Hask gets the kind of core fundamental job done that you wanted, but it softens up the ISF, which makes me a little bit nervous. I would have rather just done the ISF. But it is also a Shatterpoint pull for Ryan, which gives him a lot of potential here. Who does he go after is kind of an interesting question. Killing Hask is okay. So I think they called me over to check shove. And so my ruling was that Hask gets shoved off. I was putting the tool right up against the edge of the terrain and seeing if it was going to end up compacting his base. And it was. And so in that case, I was going to say that it was going to shove him off. Oh, what they're kind of discussing here is because of Rule 17, there is a world where Anakin could have 7 Scorch trigger rules, use Rule 17 and have 7 Scorch kill the ISF would allow him to challenge the odds during Anakin's turn, which is kind of wild. All right. So Shatterpoint Anakin, he is going to heal the disarm. This is one plus side of the Anakin play here, is that it is created a situation where Anakin can go for a kill and get rid of disarm. So here what they were calling me for is there was a little bit of concern that was a little too far of a jump. He can definitely get into range, but jumping past the ARF seemed a little bit off. And we agreed that that's going to be a little bit too far. It's kind of hard to tell from this angle, but yeah. But he can definitely jump into melee range. Not an issue. Just wasn't jumping to the other side of the ARF. Unfortunately, the downside of my judging here is that I moved Wrecker to get a very clear placement, and I had marked the position to put Wrecker back, and then unfortunately, then I moved the tool trying to clear things out before I put Wrecker back. So here we're just doing a little bit of finagling, trying to make sure we have the most accurate position for Wrecker. All right, so just going to be an Anakin Gemso attack into Hask. Pretty bad block roll for Hask. 3 fails, 2 expertise. Ends up being 2 crits, 4 hits for Anakin. So it'll be 8 damage strain, which is enough to just one-shot Hask, which is pretty good for Ryan. So he is going to get to potentially make another attack. He would have supporting fire dash and could still make the other attack, but the second attack has to be a melee attack, so it's not looking like he's really going to get into any position to... So that's it for Anakin there. Hask does get a revenge attack. Here they were asking whether or not Anakin could switch his stance before the revenge attack, which there is not a window for that. So ends up being 4 blocks, crit to hit, basically 5 hits and a bonus damage. So 1 hit goes through, so he just does 3 damage to Anakin. Just soften him up a little bit. And no fails, so no deflect. Or I forget. I think Anakin's actually riposte. All right, and then now end of turn, Anakin gets to resolve the rest of his identity. Okay, now we can flip stances because the full attack sequence is resolved. Dashes to the ladder. I think obviously there you probably could have positioned Hask to still prevent someone else from getting up there, which would have been a big deal. But I don't think that's a spot you're super interested in going after. I don't know. I think you definitely want to block that landing zone for Wrecker. So Fixer goes up to kind of protect that point. And this is where it definitely gets complicated. Now an ISF activation isn't nearly as interesting because ISF cannot kill Anakin and Wrecker and Fixer. So like the big swing turn is really, really pulled away there. But I suppose moving Fixer up would take the point from ISF anyway. And protects the middle. So actually, I think the Shatterpointing has probably worked out to his benefit there. Because at least now Anakin only scores 2. So now pulls ISF. This is kind of awkward though. They're like, isn't like something super amazing? Because you can't really have the ISF leave the middle now, because that's how you're holding a spot unless you're going to kill 7 Scorch. So now I think you're kind of in a position where you are probably just trying to kill 7 Scorch and like stack up on the middle. Like, yeah, not anything too crazy here. Yeah, I think your basically plan is kill 7 Scorch. Unless we're going to try to go kill Fixer. I mean, I guess I don't know the new odds on ISF. Like, are they actually killing 7 Scorch with 2 attacks with Steadfast? Or sorry, with Protection? All right, so he is doing move actions. Just wants to be in range of Fixer. And so here he just wants to go just enough to be in range. And then I think the other one is down. Yeah, I think that's totally fine because Iden trigger would allow a dash over. So you shoot with the one under Fifth Brother first. What I don't love about this play is like, I guess you shoot with the one on the top first, which is going to get 3 through. And so it's going to do 4 damage and a pin. And then the one under shoots Fixer, and that will allow the ISF on the ground to still score the point. So 2 blocks, crit to hit. So 4 down, so he is going to get to kill Fixer. Four damage strain. So that is going to kill Fixer. Oh, he's dead. So that was where my first thought process was. I was like, so he does challenge the odds there. And then it's going to be a disarm on boss, heal 1. So I think they miscalculated the score there because, oh no, they're catching it now. Yeah, so this Pooz was just talking about how he meant to do what I was talking about, where he would shoot in the other order and have that guy come up, so he ends up losing the middle that way. Complicated activations. very easy to make those kind of slight slip ups. As like, even when I was doing commentary, my first thought was to do exactly what he ended up doing. And it took me a second for it to click. Oh, no, you need to do it in the other order so you can use the Iden trigger to go back up. So some of your muscle memory about, oh, I want this guy to go second so that he can move up onto that point. All right. Ryan Pooz boss. So we now have ISF in front of boss. So I think he would probably like to get a wound there, recover some force. So he takes his free dash to go up the ladder and be next to the ISF. He then does a recover action to remove the disarm. Fixer dice. So gets to add 2. So gets to roll 9 dice into ISF. ISF for blocking 2. He does roll 3 fails. 3 expertise is and so blocks the 2 hits perfectly, so it's 3 crits and a damage. Yeah, so he ends up missing it by 1 and does 7 damage and a disarm. So this is probably where Ryan is regretting not choosing to deal 3 damage to boss when he was taking the movement, because he could take a damage, convert it to an advance, then take 2 damage to convert it to a reposition so that he can move up, get an additional die, but I mean 3 fails is maybe slightly above average for 9 dice, but if he's rolling 10, the odds of him getting it get pretty good. He would have had to roll probably 4 fails to not get it. So he's now blowing up the point, which dashes Fixer to the ladder, and then boss dashes away just a little bit, but will still be on the point. He's just kind of trying to make it awkward to shove boss off the point afterwards. So boss does take 2 damage, but he gets to deal 2 and wound the ISF. And then it ends on 0. Now we got a Darth Maul activation. So now, Darth Maul with Fifth Brother on the middle. I think obviously he would love to be able to score 4, which is hard because of the placement of that box for boss. He can't pull 7 Scorch off and like lightsaber throw boss off the point. And I don't know how far down Maul would have to go to try to shove someone else off, but it's awkward. There's a lot of like weird terrain placement and stuff here that is just making that a Maul shove complicated. So Maul's going to advance, hit a ladder. I don't know what the odds of Maul hitting 7 damage on his range attack. There's a world where he could then go hit the ladder, pull 1 of 7 Scorch off the point, and then throw a lightsaber at boss and see if that if he spikes and gets 8 damage through, then maybe he could kill boss, but I don't remember I think he can deal 8 on his ranged attack. It's not super likely, but it might be worth going for. Okay, so Maul spends force to give himself the full advance, and then he's not spending force, he's taking damage, but then he's yanking one of 7 Scorch down onto the ground. And so now he's going to roll a whole bunch of dice into 7 Scorch. Three blocks for 7 Scorch. So it's just going to be 2 crits and 2 damage goes through. That guy was not on an objective at that time. Also kind of sad that you expose him and then he doesn't roll any expertise. Yeah, I'm feeling like the order of activation is now kind of slipping away from Pooz. He wants to reposition to that ingress point, but may have blocked his own landing zone with the ISF. So he's going to reposition backwards and try to hold his own point. Okay. So he's going to score 3. All right, and now it is Anakin for Ryan. So now Anakin, now I think Anakin just probably wants to kill Fifth Brother. There's 1 damage on Fifth Brother, so he's got to get 9 damage to break protection, which I think is pretty reasonable for him. I know Pooz is only 2 points away at this moment, but I feel like the activation order is sliding away from him now. I think against this Republic list, I don't think he came out hard enough to stay on top, and so I feel it slipping away. Oh, well, now he's talking about reserving Anakin. So he elects to reserve Anakin, the thought process being that he wants to kind of see if he can wait until Hask activates, and so that Anakin has the potential to just kill Hask again, which I don't think is necessarily a bad plan. He gets Fixer, which is good. I mean, he guarantees he can take the middle. He's looking at it. Looks like he can probably manage to get Fixer back on an objective. So towards the middle didn't look like it was quite in range. So he's going to actually send him backwards. So I like that play. It's always really kind of frustrating for 7 Scorch when you get them off an objective or something like Struggle 2, and then people pick them apart while they don't have protection, and it's just so much easier. So gets a heal 1, get that guy back on a point to help protect it. So I like that. I like that a lot. Fifth brother doesn't have the hunker anymore, so they were just correcting that game state. So now they're looking at fixer dice. Which he does not add. So 3 hits plus an expertise. He's not in a position to be able to shove fifth brother. He's really wishing that he could do the heals. I think there was a world there where you'd want Fixer to walk forward, punch fifth brother, even though fifth brother is going to get to roll an additional defense die, and then just be able to utilize a bunch of heals on 7 Scorch would be huge. So I think Pooz is probably happy that he's shot there. So he doesn't get to do any of the healing and then just walks onto the point. So he gets back in the middle. And so it does pull Hask, which sets up the Anakin play in a big way. Man, I just realized that Pooz was totally out of force. I was trying to figure out how that happened exactly. Iden spent 1. Hask spent 2. ISF spent 1, so that's 4. Fifth brother spent 1, that's 5. Oh, and then 1 to challenge the odds. So Haas dashes away and is just taking a shot at 7 Scorch to see if they can try to get the last damage through. I think that's about as good of a play as you could hope for with Hask at the moment. They both rolled very awkwardly here. 1 block crit to hit for 7 Scorch. He rolled, so he has a block to a miss, but that does nothing because he didn't roll any blocks. So it's going to be 3 successes plus a damage. So he will get the wound there. So I think he's definitely happy about that. All right. I think that means that Pooz is actually taking this struggle. Yeah. I think that play from Ryan of not doing Anakin and just having Anakin go and kill fifth brother. It is complicated because he still got to get someone else there because Fixer's on the point. Oh. That's actually awkward because the timing would be that fifth brother flips the point and then Fixer would flip the point. All right, re-disarms Anakin. Oh man, that's... Yeah, I think he wanted to go further down and hit the reposition. I think Hask has additional movement on the tree. He's wondering if there's a way... Yeah, so I think he's thinking about changing the exact damage that he does here because he didn't roll well enough for him. Wounding them doesn't win him the struggle because he can't get to the objective. Yeah, that's a tough spot. So he's going to stick with the wound, dash towards Anakin. Damn, that's tough. Hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of little things are just kind of stacking up against Pooz here. I thought he was about to prove me wrong, and I said it was slipping away from him. Then I thought he had it. So now the question for Ryan is, does he want to... So he's thinking about, like, does he just not activate Anakin right now, save it for the next struggle, and send Wrecker off to claim a different point so that he can score 4 and save the Anakin activation, which I think is potentially smart. Yeah, and the weirdness here is the fifth brother would reclaim the middle if he doesn't do something about the middle. So there's certainly a conversation here to have Anakin try to go kill the middle. I think having Wrecker try to kill... Yeah. Here, they're just kind of talking about, like, actually shoving fifth brother off the point. You only need to get one shove through, but you got to hit 2 shoves and be at an angle where you can actually get him off the point. Man, you could be a little gambly and jump Anakin, use the shove side. Oh, he's disarmed. That's so well, I think it still works. You could jump Anakin, heal the disarm, roll the the ranged attack. Oh no, he wouldn't have the force to, like, make the other attack on Hask. I was trying to see if he could get both, but it doesn't look like it would quite work out that way. He is going to go ahead and do Anakin. Because he's disarmed, it is a little awkward going after him. Yeah, it's more complicated than it probably seemed on paper. Definitely a slightly more complicated turn for Ryan than it probably seemed like on paper. Okay, so what he's doing here is Anakin jumps down, staying within range 2 of Hask. Or no, he walks down. And he's just going to accept that he wants to make sure he can make 2 attacks, and he's accepting that the first one will be disarmed. So removes disarm, removes some expertise. Hask has a pretty solid block. So he goes 2 down, which does 4 damage to Hask. I think he had a heal, was the reasoning there. 4 blocks and a heal. So that does perfectly get him after the heals. So he hits the refresh, gets 1 force, wounds Hask. Hask is going to be leaving the table the next time he comes up. Okay, so another revenge trigger for Hask. He gets to dash. Pretty bad attack. Nothing is going to go through. I think it was 3 fails. Not often you get to see Hask actually make the revenge attacks, which I think is cool. I've seen him get very ignored. I love the little revenge attack mechanic for him, where just gets to punish if he gets killed. So then he's only going to score 2, which moves it to 0 because the tiebreaker switches it. So now Fifth Brother takes control of the middle. So now that's actually, all right, Pooz, you proved me wrong. I thought you were going to lose this struggle, and man, you ended up pulling it out. Yeah. Having them both lose points back-to-back turns is not a thing that comes up all that often. Yeah, that was actually a really complicated turn for Ryan. It's interesting that they're both activating Wrecker as their last activation. Yeah, what they're talking about here is just kind of evaluating whether or not Anakin should have potentially switched stances and tried to go for shoves, jumps on the second side, but he wouldn't have gotten the kill there. All right, so Wrecker dashes, climbs. All right. He scores 2, wins the struggle. Great job, Pooz. But, oh man, he does have a lot of damage on his characters. All right, so we're ending up with the top left, top right, middle, bottom will be the active scoring. So that starts off with Boss and basically, just Boss on a point, Darth Maul on a point, and then nobody on that bottom point. Roll for priority, and it's the bottom point, which is good because Wrecker's the last activation, so he knows that he can start off scoring 3, which I think is, pretty solid for Ryan. He does have 1 force left, so he could also shoot. He can dash down, shoot at Fifth Brother, get some extra dice, and then move on to the objective. So yeah, I like that a lot. Sometimes it's a team effort to take down Fifth Brother. You got to put some pressure on him. Gets 3 more dice on the attack. Yeah. So 9 damage, 9 dice. He has 5 health left and protection. And he is exposed as well. So he's not getting defensive expertise. Needs 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wound. 6 damage on Wrecker's side to get the wo All right, he's staying on the side. He's kind of evaluating like expertise versus damage tree, that sort of thing. And so now what he's considering is he's believing that he will go at least 2 down. So he's going to focus to get an extra dice and go to 10. And so 1 block, no fails. So I'm pretty sure Wrecker's getting this here. 5 hits, 5 expertise. What a weird roll. Good job, Ryan. All right, and he gets to dash onto the point. Man, Ryan is up to 5 wounds. Not getting quite as much wounds for Empire. There's 3, but we're already at an 8 wound game, beginning of Struggle 2. That's pretty impressive, boys. It's not as good as the 19 wound game that Donovan and I accomplished, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Respect. All right. Iden ends up top of the deck again, and it is Wrecker's point, which Wrecker's point is the priority point, which is really not what Iden wants. I think at this point in Pooz's shoes, I would be ignoring this struggle completely. I think at this point, I would be looking at killing Boss or killing Anakin. Fuck with the Force Econ. I think I would like going after Anakin. He ended on his Gem So side, so he doesn't have great defense. There's already 3 damage on him. And you would potentially have the ability to expose him as well. It would cost some force. But yeah, I think I'd potentially go for trying to kill Anakin and just ending with Iden on some other point to put you in a good position for the next struggle. I think I would ignore Wrecker. I think going after Wrecker right here is a trap. But what is he going to do? I think there's still some deliberation going on. But I have been very much in the camp of like, I am not overcommitting to Struggle 2 when I win Struggle 1. I want to move on. Part of it is just like, you don't want the game to drag on too long, especially in a tournament setting. And so I think overly fighting over a Struggle 2 can be kind of just a waste of your mental energy and your time. What will Pooz do? By the way, if you're watching and you're like, wait a second, where's the second camera? I did record this game with the other camera as well, but I just felt like with the terrain layout, the second camera didn't end up being very useful. So Iden is activating, giving herself the free dash. I certainly don't mind. If he's going after Boss, I think going after Boss is almost as good as going after Anakin. So we're just trying to figure out here is if there's a way for Iden to potentially shove Boss. But in my opinion, and I have nothing but love and respect for Pooz here, I want to give up on this struggle in this situation. But that's me. I know a lot of people like, you don't give up on any struggle ever. And so it looks to me like he's focused on like still trying to like score that point, which is not a bad idea. Even if you're planning for the next struggle, you would like your opponent to not start off at any points if you can help it. My concern with going after Boss is that Boss doesn't get hurt as much by being wounded as Anakin would. Anakin's turns going up to 5 force is a pretty big deal. Where boss, a lot of activations is still going to be 0 force. And so this is where I would potentially really like her just at least going for Anakin. All right, she is going to covert ops. He is not doing the expose part. He's just doing the covert operations for sharpshooter and focus. Bad roll for boss. It's like 1 block, basically. So she is going to get the wound here. So, like I said, I didn't want to go after one or the other. I think this is totally fine. I think there's a slight concern that this might slow down Struggle 2 in a way that's not helpful for Pooz. She gets a double recover and reposition, which isn't super important. She gets a wound. I'm going to add Disarm to 7 Scorch. I like that. All right, so she ends up scoring 2, gets a bonus momentum. Wrecker's Point stays priority again. Pulls Anakin. See, this is... The order deck is just not doing Pooz any favors here. I think, same situation, if she had attacked Anakin, I think she still wounds Anakin. But Anakin is going to reserve, pull up 7 Scorch. This does get a little bit interesting. Now, because 7 Scorch is coming up right now, there's a world where slowing down the Struggle 2 might end up helping Pooz. If you can get a kill on 7 Scorch now, but just so that they're not a great Shatterpoint target because they would leave the table. So since he's doing 7 Scorch, a priority for me in Pooz's shoes would potentially be to get the second wound on 7 Scorch as fast as possible. So while I was a little down on him slowing down Struggle 2, it might work to his favor now. All right, so now I think they're taking shots at Iden. Huh. Okay, so they both dash. They are still disarmed. So he's just kind of contemplating I think what he's wondering here is, so he was thinking about shooting Maul, but he doesn't actually have to shove Maul off the point because he can just take it by being on the lower level. So Pooz is letting Ryan correct some movement a little bit. He doesn't have to go down and be advancing, needing to shove Maul any particular direction to try to get him off the point. So he just needs to walk over there. So he just wants to end within range 5 of Iden so that they can both shoot Iden. So I believe this is the red one that's in the middle shooting at Iden. I think he wants to shove Iden away from the yellow one. So just going to be 1 down. He's going to take the 2 damage. And then the other one is going to shoot Iden with Fixer dice. So they're just double checking that Fixer is indeed in. He is. Man, the Fixer dice mechanic pretty good. I think Iden's 4 blocks and a heal. 4 expertise, 4 hits. So the 4 expertise is 2 hits and a block to fail, so it'll be 3 blocks for Iden. So it's going to be a 3 down. So it's going to be 4 damage, strange shove, which does put her in an awkward spot. It means if she were to like Shatterpoint and wanted to get her own free movement, she would kill herself with strain. Oh no, had a heal, so removes the strain. I like that. All right, so this does set up Ryan for scoring 4. Darth Maul. So, who does Maul go after? I mean, there's certainly a world here where I'd want to just expose, attack, and put a lot of damage into 7 Scorch. He could walk down, pull the red one off the objective, and so he loses protection and is exposed, and then could roll a bunch of dice into him. There is certainly a world where Darth Maul could get that and then get back onto the point. And man, would I like just getting them that second wound now to like remove them. All right, he's going to reserve Darth Maul and do ISF. Yeah, I don't think this is a situation where I'd reserve. I think I would be perfectly happy getting a lot of damage in and just taking that point again. But I think Pooz and I are just entering this with a little bit of different mindset where I don't want to fight over this struggle. I think this struggle is such a losing proposition. So now that he's got ISF, I mean, potentially getting another wound on Fixer is solid. I don't mind that. So you're going to end up with 3 crits even after a crit to hit with the first ISF attack. So 3 damage, pin, strain on Fixer. He's just spreading around damage now. I don't know how I feel about that. He gained some momentum. I mean, I guess if the plan here is to save the wounds for the next struggle. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the reserve got him enough there. That cost him a force, and I think you could have gotten a solid amount of work on with Darth Maul. I think you obviously don't want to, I agree with Pooz that you don't want to spend 2 force to be moving the ISF around when it's a struggle that you're probably not winning. But I think I would have taken the dice roll and see if Darth Maul could kill 7 Scorch there. But he could have, if you wanted to go after Fixer, I think maybe that would have been a better play. Like, I didn't think about that until he was attacking Fixer with ISF. But if he walked down with Maul, pulled Fixer off, got to roll into Fixer with a whole bunch of dice, that would have had second wounds, and then he pulls Fixer again, and then would be in a position of Fixer leaving the table and turning off Fixer dice for struggle 3. Oh man. Okay, I didn't think about that until just now, but oh man, that would actually be pretty good. With Fixer having not come up yet, that probably would have been a better play than going after 7 Scorch. So I got focused on my own plan. So this is Fixer making an attack into, I think, ISF. Yep, 2 damage, recover, shove. And so he's going to go ahead and Fixer's going to use the recover to remove the pin off of himself. That's going to end the struggle. So top objective, the objective by Darth Maul, and then Wrecker stays active. Man, Wrecker's point has just proved so valuable for Ryan. Okay. Expertise, and it is Wrecker's point. Oh, that's awful. Man, the struggle flip and priority rolls not doing Pooz any favors here. I think there's certainly a world where Darth Maul can get over and take that point. But the problem there is like, you're just feeding Darth Maul to Anakin at that point. So that's just, that just puts Pooz in such a rough spot. So what are the other flips? So what? Iden and ISF is activated. All right. Shatterpoint pull for Pooz. Does that help him here? You're definitely not doing Ask. Wrecker has no damage. Fifth Brother totally drains your force. I think he's doing Iden here, which dashes the ISF over onto that point that's kind of hidden. Yeah, I think that's a very solid shatter point for him in this situation. So 5 health left on Fixer, 6 on 7 Scorch. The yellow one does not have protection, though, at the moment. So she dashes herself up. He's thinking about force economy here and how much he can put into this. I'm not sure I agree with the dash up. They aren't hunkered. He is exposing. And focuses and then punches. So just be 2 blocks. So just going to be 3 damage and expose. So doesn't get the wound there. Yeah. mean, I'm not sure that attack roll with being ranged was going to deal all that much more. I think I maybe would have liked... Yeah. Okay, so that was a score of 1 for Pooz. So it is... So here, he's starting off scoring 2, and he has Anakin in reserve. So there's a question of, can Anakin get to Iden, who has 6 damage on her? Yeah, there's certainly a world here where dash, jump, shoot could potentially supporting fire dash up to her, melee her, finish her off, and he needs to get to that ISF up at the top if he wants to score the priority point. So he is not going to do Anakin. He pulls boss. This is pretty perfect for him. So he gets to hand out some dashes here, which is going to really help him get fixer dice if he wants it. This pull is pretty perfect for Ryan. So dashes down fixer. Does not get fixer to the ladder. So he's going to dash the yellow 7 Scorch to the... He's going to try to dash to that ingress point to see if he can get a little extra movement down. He really would like to be able to set up a Rule 17. So he's moving all the way up to the edge, and then to see if that gets in range of the ladder. It looks like he does, which I agree with in that situation. It does look like he was getting there. And boss gets a dash as well. He's going to go hit that ladder by fixer. Let's see. There's already 2 damage on the ISF, so I feel like this turn might just be locking in the game for Republic. Yeah, I think killing the ISF here and scoring 4 will be pretty great for Ryan, which I don't feel like that's a hot take, but that's going to be putting things in a pretty rough spot. And I don't know what Pooz could pull to try to make that significant of a swing. He's just thinking a little bit about how he wants to potentially generate some heals. So now he's just thinking that, like, after his normal movement, he'd like to be within range of 7 Scorch to get some healing done on them. So I always like this. I think there's a big step in kind of like all utilization of characters. Anyone who's got heals, the more that you start thinking about your positioning and how it potentially makes good use of those heals is really big. Here they were just a question. Ryan thought that maybe Pooz needed one more momentum, but he kind of assumed that he would have gotten a wound, but did not. he's changed his mind, and Boss is not going to switch to wet work. He just wants to focus on getting the wound. So he moves down. You can't see him now, but he is engaged with the ISF. Don't worry, the side camera was on the other side. You would have totally not been able to see any of this from the side camera either. 10 dice into the ISF. ISF are 3 blocks, maybe 3 blocks and a heal. No, I think it's just 3 blocks. So 3 down. So 7 damage and a disarm. Which does wound them. He gets to refresh 2 force. He's going to boss bomb on the Iden point, which will allow yellow 7 Scorch to get onto the point and deal 2 damage to Iden. It was an inactive point, but the boss bomb is allowed to do that. So 4 points plus mission critical. All right. And so priority point is the red 7 Scorch model. Ryan hasn't actually played Boss Anakin that much. But I think he's realizing just it's a lot of fun. This is actually a list that I've played against a couple of times, not with Wrecker, but I have had some other locals who liked playing Boss and Anakin, and man, it's pretty killy. It does some work for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So here, Pooz is thinking about gambling on getting Wrecker. But if he pulls Hask, it's basically over. And it's Hask. So I think he knew he needed a big risk. And so, yeah, that's basically going to wrap the game, because all he can do, because he was engaged by Anakin, he can dash, punch Anakin, does nothing, gains a momentum. And so that's going to basically close out the game. Ryan is going to go ahead and activate Anakin, theoretically going for wounds for potential tiebreaker. And let's see. So he goes after... I guess Iden's at 1. So he jumps and shoots at Iden. Yep. Yeah, he's not in melee, but he gets a shoot now. Iden has a pretty solid block, but she's got 1 health, and there's crits. So, 2 crits go through, and so that ends up being 5 damage on 2 crits, which closes things out. So, damn, that was, I mean, people might be looking at it and going like, oh, I'm so sick of seeing boss stuff. I do think Boss Anakin is a really interesting option, especially for people who are looking to play, some variation on Full Republic. But I think the Iden Lord Maul list is probably better than it might be getting credit for on the surface. I think this Iden Darth Maul, or Lord Maul list, I keep wanting to say Darth Maul, but we know it's Lord Maul on the card. He's not a Sith at this moment, in his story. But I think this was more that, Pooz doesn't play Iden a whole lot. And so I think it's just a matter, like, I'm in the same boat. I don't play Iden a whole lot, and I feel like I don't play her particularly well. But I think there was absolutely a world here where the Iden Lord Maul list comes out on top of this. And I mean, we're talking about a situation where Boss is considered one of the best primaries in the game, a model that people are asking for nerfs on. And I think this Iden Lord Maul list could have easily come out on top of it. So big shout out to Pooz. I think he was coming up with a really creative, interesting list. And I think if I were to just guess, I think it was just not a list that he had actually played a whole ton going into this, but he is a very creative list builder, one of just like a wonderful part of the Eugene and Portland community, and, always challenges himself to try new things. So big shout to Pooz. I love him so much. I love Ryan as well. But I don't get to see Pooz as nearly as often. And so, I do think that this Iden Lord Maul list could have absolutely come out on top of this matchup and maybe would have been even better into the OB version of it. Yeah, I don't know. Super interesting. I like what he did here. I think Pooz's list is absolutely worth digging into more. And I think Maul is a potentially very underrated part of this meta. And I honestly don't think that the order deck did Pooz any favors, but if you were listening to the commentary, I think there was some really good plays at Pooz's disposal that could have potentially swung this in the favor of Empire. And so I know Empire isn't getting a ton of love in this particular meta, but I think this is an example of a situation where Empire could have absolutely come out on top of this. So Pooz, shout out to you for bringing such a cool list and making the drive up, buddy. You know I love seeing you. And we will close things out there and just say the most OP thing that you could do is have a Wrecker on Wrecker matchup. Later, nerds.